Hello everyone, I'm Shutapa Bose and my child, he is an adolescent, he is 18 years old and he has been diagnosed with autism when he was 3+ years old.
I'm the parent of a young adult living on the spectrum. Kritiman Dasgupta is his name. I am Swati Dasgupta.
Hello, I am Dr. Piyali Chatterjee and I am a parent of Onomitra Chatterjee. He was born autistic and diagnosed at about 2.5 years of age.
I know I can relate with every parent whose child has been diagnosed with autism or any other condition. The first and foremost thing that comes to their mind, how will we manage the finance or how will the economic ecosystem of the family run?
So I am a medical doctor, but I knew about autism, but I did not know that it would so soon come to my house. Naturally, the question came that I was working as a, high-level professional. So should I give up my job? Should I stay at home? Should I train myself to take care of him? And then what about the finances? How do we plan it? Because even we were starting life then. So we were not completely established as I am today.
Today we will be answering some of the most commonly asked questions that parents have about the financial planning after an autism diagnosis in their child based on our journey and my personal experiences.
Let's actually deal with certain questions today. When we first heard the diagnosis, did we make any financial decisions out of panic that we later wished we had planned more carefully? Talking about my own personal experience, I would say when we first got the diagnosis, it was majorly the way we would be handling the issue rather than any financial goals that were there in our minds at that point. We wanted to know how to handle the issue, how to tackle the situation, how to find a journey ahead to help the child at that point. Finances did not matter so much at that point in our minds.
I would like to say that panic I did a little. After all, I was a mother. So I did panic, but there were no financial decisions made out of panic because we really did not know what we were facing. So that is something which is very important. We first need to find out what we are heading at instead of, starting to panic and, thinking about what money, where do I keep it aside. So consult experts, go to psychiatrists, don't hide it, and then talk to counselors, and then we can plan the financing. That comes a lot later after we have started dealing with the autistic child.
It is not out of panic that I have made, because that time my first and foremost thing that ran into my mind was how many therapies, as many therapies as I can get, and how useful and effective therapies I can get. So not out of panic, I won't say, but definitely the expenses were extremely high and beyond the expectations. That time I was living in Delhi, so the expenses were really out of my thought, wherever my thought could go.
Before we continue, we have a special announcement for our viewers. This weekend, we are hosting a special live discussion on financial planning for parents with autistic children. And we'd love for you to join us. Simply scan the QR code on your screen right now or check the link in the description below for more details.
The next question what we will talk about is how do we decide between paying for one more therapy session today and saving for our child's long-term future. At that point, nothing else mattered, but we wanted to make every effort possible within our fold to kind of help our child to walk the steps ahead in his road. So then the therapy became more important for us than thinking about his long-term financial savings, Long-term financial savings started becoming important or started figuring in our minds only at a later point of time?
No, as per me, as a parent, and again I must repeat myself, as a parent and as a sane teacher, I must say, you cannot wait for future. Everything is today. You have to invest in today, because child's age is not waiting for anyone. Child age will not wait for whatever time you take to save money and then put into the therapy. So everything should be today. Invest as much as you can, not just your own time, but also in as many therapy sessions you want.
Here, I would say that we really need to think about the long-term future. And here, a decision which I took was that I made a recurring deposit for him. So, as I said, I was not financially so well established. So, I did a small recurring deposit. So, maybe it was at that point of time some 20,000, which I was paying every other month as I could, with a hope that, at some point of time, 20 years later, that comes to a big amount of money which can support him later. And definitely I did not compromise on the therapy, because that was very important then. Because my main aim was to bring him somewhere into the normal flow so that he could get into a normal school, lead a normal life. So first target is to get the therapy started, and then you start your financial planning after that.
What unexpected expenses did we encounter with schooling, therapies, and everyday life? As the therapies progressed, as the journey became more focused, lots and lots of therapies were required to be done with the child for him to be able to negotiate and navigate through the autism mesh that we say. So, the expenses that we had soared and were primarily directed in making that the therapy is possible for him rather than anything else. Yes, our financial priorities, they changed. From a usual neurotypical family financial budgeting, we became an autism family financial budget.
We never expected that for Anumitra we'll have to keep a special teacher, because he refused to go to the school over there, right? So the special school. So he used to go to a normal school because he was in the middle of the spectrum. So the school admitted him because he was a quiet child, not so disturbing, but he was very quiet at that. So he could go to a normal school. We had to wanted to send him to the special school in 3 days in a week was what we talked about, but he just refused to go there. So we had to make this arrangement of the teacher coming over. So that was definitely an added expense of someone who is a specialized teacher. So naturally, the cost of that was much more than maybe someone walking in to teach and do the homework of your child while you were away. So this is something which we did not expect, but we had to do, and that happened. We had to keep her, and she of course stayed on, and she's still with Anumitra in different ways, and actually Anumitra helps her out now. So things are settled down. So we have to think and go forward instead of stepping back thinking that this is a big expense.
Usually what happens with a neurotypical child, the family only has to bear the expense of the school, the normal, so-called normal school. But for us, parents like us, we have to spend not just the school fees, but or the normal tuition fees, but also the therapy sessions. And therapy is also need based. Not every child needs same kind of therapy. So for me, it was quite a lot of therapy because my child was attending the early intervention and program, as well as the speech sessions, the occupational therapy sessions, and also some group sessions like that, which were all necessary. He was only 3+ years old, so we had to arrange everything along with the age of the child. So that time the financial burden was too heavy, and of course that was quite a shock, kind of, not just unexpected, but it was a huge shock, because the therapies were like one-on-one sessions were extremely costly at that time, and the expenses have only got higher. Next question is, looking back, which financial decision helped us the most and which one created unnecessary stress? So what helped me most was stopping all kinds of unnecessary things, like for example, for me, investing in toys and unnecessary things like playstations or all those things where I stopped everything, because those things, my child couldn't relate to any toys, because children with autism are not very fond of toys. They don't relate themselves with too many toys, or they are not very fond of them. They cannot engage themselves with toys. So I have stopped that. That decision really helped me. And what created unnecessary stress was that I was trying to manage too many things at the same time, because I was trying to actually micromanage, which actually took toll on my health, and that kind of created an unnecessary stress.
I really don't think I have any one particular financial decision, which caused us so much of a stress. Any finances which we spent at that point, at that time, or even now for his various, he doesn't undergo therapies now, but he does have a lot of activities planned and structured in his day, for his day, to make life happy and meaningful for him. So those financial decisions definitely are a major source of satisfaction and also the results in his journey.
There was no unnecessary stress. So as I said that we were both professionals, so we were both working. So that was maybe, additional support, that both of us were doctors. So there was no additional stress, first of all, about the diagnosis, about what we were facing, what is happening. When we came to know that he's in the middle of the spectrum, we saw there is a hope. So, and the financial decision which helped us the most was the recurring deposit. So I would say that, whatever you can afford, so even if it is, 2,000, 3,000 rupees a month, to anything between 20,000, 2 lakhs, whatever you can do, keep on doing it, and that really adds up. When the child will actually need it is when he is going to school or college, or maybe if he is not going to college, if you have to invest then in a vocational place where he can go and stay, then that deposit is going to help you then. So I think that recurrent deposit really helped us out, and we could face it much more confidently.
The last question is, here we have we ever felt guilty spending money on ourselves because we believed every rupee should go toward our child's needs? When I look back, yes, I'm sure most of our financial decisions were most certainly measured and directed towards autism, the autism that we were living with. No major expenses were done, and all regular family expenses were done properly. But I would say, yes, we always started to have a back-end kind of decision or mind working on making our reserves always available for addressing the autism that we had to handle, rather than splurging money on anything that could be otherwise done without.
That time I was I stopped planning any holiday trips or anything. I thought this 1000 rupees, this 2000 rupees, all this will be helpful. I can take more therapies, more classes, more sessions. But that was definitely not a very good decision, because when you spending on yourself is spending on the well-being of yourself, right? And if your mother or the father or the whole family as such is the emotional well-being is taken care of, then the child's emotional well-being is also taken care of. And one more thing I would mention, like, that created a little bit of stress was that I had to discontinue my ongoing job, because that time I was I was serving as a teacher in a school, and that time I thought, as a mother I am the primary caregiver of my son. Not anybody outsourced would help him as much as I can. So that time when I discontinued, that too also added to the burden, and it came to my husband totally to bear the financial burden of the family. So that was a little bit of stress, and I would prefer, if I have to go back to my journey, I would prefer that mothers should also keep their well-being in their mind, as well as do little bit of job related. If you are already into job, you should continue with that maybe at a lower level, without compromising your child's well-being.
I believe that when you are happy is when you can make everyone else happy. So we did spend on ourselves, we spent on our child also. Now feeling guilty is not something, what the guilt which mainly comes here is not about spending money on anything else, but the guilt which comes is that whether I was at fault at some point of time and I could not look after him properly, or maybe could have spent something more, is the question. So I would say that these guilts we always keep facing every day in life. So there's no point looking at that. You just take baby steps, what is coming, the problem you're facing, and then go forward with that.
We hope our experiences through our journey would shed some light on the financial planning or the way that we had in our journey, and it will help other families to handle and make financial decisions that they might find important in their journeys.
The parents also need to invest on their own training, because as once you learn how to handle your autistic child, you will be able to help your teachers and the society to face him better. So attending workshops, going for training if that is possible, is very, very important. So one needs to invest on that also. And thank you for watching. Until next time, watch this video popping up on your screen.